Hey everybody, I'm Joe Hirsch, and it's great to be learning with you today as we continue our study of Masachet Pesachim, and in today's lesson have an opportunity to take a closer look at the practice of putting out pieces of bread in preparation for bedikat chametz. You'll recall from previous studies that the Torah is quite clear about what we must do to chametz before Pesach arrives. Remove it. The Torah tells us, Ach bayom harishon, by the first day of Pesach, that is the 15th day of Nisan, tashbitu seor mibatechem, person must remove all chametz from his or her possession, otherwise he or she will be in violation of Torah law. We also learned that there are two major reasons why we must search for chametz before Pesach. The first has to do with the prohibition of eating chametz on Pesach, which is expressed in a different source in the Torah, and the other has to do with related prohibitions about seeing chametz or finding chametz in one's possession over the course of the holiday, what is known as the prohibition of bal yera'eh and bal yematzeh. But the big question we have to figure out today is, why is it that some people have the practice to set out multiple pieces of bread, as many as 10, throughout the house prior to the bedikah? What is the purpose of this practice? So when we look a little more carefully at the context, we'll turn up a possibility, but then have an opportunity to go a little deeper and to see why the basis for this custom may not even be so well founded. Let's explore. All this has to do with a concept that is known in Jewish law as bracha levatala, literally a bracha that is wasted for no reason. When a person makes a bracha levatala, he or she says God's name in vain for no reason at all. An example of a bracha levatala might be making the wrong bracha on a particular item. For example, making the bracha of hamotzi on an apple, totally wrong. Or making a bracha and then not executing that bracha by fulfilling the action that's associated with it. So making the bracha of borei pri ha'etz for an apple, which is the correct bracha, but then not eating the apple at all, letting it sit on the side. When we do that, we violate the third of the 10 commandments of the Aseret HaDibrot. That's not a good thing. So for that reason, we're supposed to be very careful about making brachot, and we should consider carefully whether or not a bracha should be made before we actually make it. In the case of bedikat chametz, there are some people who are concerned, falsely, that the bedikah would possibly produce a bracha levatala. How? If, for example, the person made the bracha of Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al biur chametz, and then didn't turn up any chametz whatsoever in the course of his or her searching, then that would be a bracha levatala, right? Because you made a bracha for searching, but found nothing. The truth is, when we look a little more closely at that bracha, we see that that concern is not very well founded. Look at what the Bracha actually says. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, al biur chametz, on the burning of chametz, which we'll do the very next day, irrespective of what we find on the night of the 14th when we actually search our homes in preparation for Pesach the following day. So for this reason, the practice of putting out 10 or so pieces of bread is not required, certainly, nor is it so well founded. So why do people continue to do it? That has to do with the concept of Misori, of not casually breaking traditions that we've had for generations. Misori is an important part of our Jewish identity, part of our cultural history, part of what makes us who we are. When we are careless with our Misori, with our traditions, then that's a very dangerous and slippery slope. We can't just start going around disregarding customs because they don't seem to make sense anymore, even the ones that seem to have been conceived out of misjudgment. So in this case over here, we still proceed with the custom for some families of putting out multiple pieces of bread before the start of Pesach. This all has to do with the customs that are dear to us and that make up who we are. We'll explore in class a little bit more some other reasons behind the search and some other information related to this practice when we return.